Yeah, Christian had a scan yesterday, which showed a very, very minor injury to his hamstring, very minor. So he's already back outside, won't be fit for tomorrow, but we'll see after that. Well, it always must be a collective of the team, the squad, and the work that we do. But of course, when you come in and perform individually as he has, he's made a very, very good start to his career here with us. Shown his qualities that we brought him here to the club for, has brought confidence to those around him. So she should take credit alongside others.
Moose at TalkSport.
Yeah, I think in the group we're happy. Seville was a tough match at home, probably a fair result for both teams, and then we go and get a good result in Russia. So there's still a lot of work to do to make sure we don't get complacent at this point, because we know that if Rennes come and get any form of result at our place, it changes the face of the table. So we must stay on top of ourselves. And the recent clean sheets have been great. Yeah, it's obviously something that we were looking at. I always look at that side of our game. We know we wanted to improve it from last season, and then I certainly analysed the specific reasons why we weren't as good as we wanted to be. So we've seen some progression in that, but that has to remain a work in progress. We can't come off that. The focus and concentration of the team has been great. It needs to stay that way.
John Cross.
Yeah, when we were in to look to sign in Edu, we obviously made the inquiries, and Peter Cech was heavily involved. I think that's pretty common knowledge. So all the feedback was that he had a great personality, a strong personality in the dressing room, and everything that I heard, all those positives have came true. He is very low maintenance. He works hard, wants to work more. Eager to engage with his teammates, engage with myself, smile on his face, and has played well. So yeah, no, it's a real positive when you have a player that comes in and hits the ground running on the pitch, but also is a real positive in the dressing room, and he's been that.
Ian Bolton's.
I think you should have just kept directing those questions to Pete. He's very good on goalkeepers one-on-one. Listen, I don't want to get into where he can improve. I think what he's shown so far has been very complete. Those clean sheets have shown big parts of his game. He's made saves in moments in games that have certainly helped us, and if the goal had gone in, the games could have gone the other way against us. Manchester United, I think particularly the first half save against Rashford with his feet was a really top class save. He's given off a sense of calm in his distribution and his coming for crosses and things that you just want from your goalkeepers, and he's done that. So listen, I'm sure he'll improve. I think when Pete says that, he's talking about the fact that it's really early days for him at the club. He's settling in still to a degree, but again, I'm not trying to play this down though. I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, because it's been a really good start for him. I'm very confident in him. He's shown great qualities so far. I think there is going to be a lot more to come, and with his attitude, which is key, and I've seen how he wants to work and how he wants to be, the humility in him, I think he can go much further in many departments.
James Robson.
Yeah, I think that's always a big challenge for top clubs, because in normal seasons, normal times, I think it's demanding on a squad to play as regularly as we are, and now that's even tighter. So hence why I think a lot of managers now, particularly managers that are involved in Europe, are calling for more subs in the Premier League, because we know these demands can take the players to places where they're in a real injury risk. So there are factors around it, but I don't want to dwell too much on that. We have to deal with what's in front of us. We do have a pretty fit squad at the moment, and it's important that we just concentrate on ourselves game by game at the moment, because of where we're at, because we are in a bit of a process where we have brought new players in and we're striving to improve in every game. So I enjoy using these games to get better if we can. We've seen nice uplift in different parts of our game recently. But yeah, over the course of the season and in this early group stage with how many Premier League games are, it's very taxing on the players, but we have to do the best we can.
Nick Pure.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a relief for the injury to be on the small side. It felt like that to Christian, but he made the right decision in not attempting to play a game, because that could have made it worse. So yeah, it's clearly a relief that hopefully we'll have him back very soon, because he's an important player for us. With the actual muscle injuries, that's a hard one to call. It's forever going to be a challenge. Some players that had play on the edge, have such speed in their game and acceleration, maybe it can be more susceptible. I don't think that's a one-fits-all answer, because it's different for everybody. From last season, we were looking at ways of managing Christian and just trying to be proactive and not hopefully getting so many injuries. I know it's something he'd experienced previously in his career at Dortmund as well. So we're all working in the same direction on that one, to try and get him to be as fit as regularly as possible, because we know the talent. Yeah, I think we are. Well, I am, because I also understand what missing a pre-season does, and when the short turnaround and a couple of weeks off and not having a base, normally that base is a month to 5 weeks, sometimes a bit less, but I was aware of it as a player when I came back from tournaments. If pre-season was short, it could either affect the start of my season or it could hit me later on in the season, and I think we're certainly in that predicament with the players now that they've had this lack of pre-season. They're now being thrust into game after game. As I say, at Chelsea we do have a squad here. It's my job to balance getting some consistency in selection, particularly if we are in good form, but also making sure that the squad stays as fit and fresh as they can, because I know that the demands of the long season are going to be tough. So I think it's something that is being spoken about a lot, and it's not an excuse. It's not a cry from myself or Pep Guardiola or any manager that talks about it. It's just reality, because we see it. We travelled to Manchester last week and back. We travelled to Russia and back. We travelled to Burnley and back. Great, we're doing a job we love, but there are clear physical demands on the players, and that's we're trying to work against that, I suppose, in terms of keeping everyone as fit and fresh as we can for the season.
Sammy Motwell.
Yeah, it's very important, and I think, you know, the question I had about Christian Pulisic earlier, and there's a question I got asked about N'Golo Kante towards the back end of last season a lot. And I think within the squad you try to have standards and levels that you train at, physical work. We gauge every day's fitness work, how much the players have, the input of the players, and we try and balance it out to make sure we have everyone as optimum as we can. And every player is different in their own way. So around the general rule of how we train, whether I talk a lot to the sports science team and they give me some clues of what they see, some of it is in my eye and with the staff, and then a lot of it is my relationship with the players and speaking to them. And I think particularly when you have an experienced player who's such a great professional as Thiago is, that honest conversation is very easy. And if it means managing training, if it means managing game time, which we did last week with Russia, I'll be very upfront and honest with him in terms of what I think and what he thinks. So we'll do our best, because you're right, I did feel it. I remember at the back end of my career, I remember how I had to change my training programme, so I'll be very open to looking at small tweaks for Thiago.
Andy Dillon.
Yeah, I mean, when I say low maintenance, I mean I probably, and I'm not trying to compare it to other players, especially not out loud to you. Not out loud to you. I think what I've seen in a short period of time with Edward is a player that has a massive work ethic to train and push himself every day. And when they're keepers, they're slightly separate from the main squad sometimes. So a lot of that is feedback that I get from the coaches. And I've had that feedback with the other goalkeepers before you start going down that route. But what's been nice is that he's shown that work ethic. He smiles every day. He's not asking a million questions, but he's asking enough questions which are really relevant, little individual things about his relationship with the players around him on the pitch, things I love, players to engage with each other. So I've really enjoyed that positive side of his engagement. And he hasn't knocked on my door much. Maybe hasn't had a reason to. So that's fair play. But I just sense that from him, which is nice. And the squad generally is low maintenance. And if sometimes moments where they have to come and speak to me, that's football as well. Every player will be different. And I'm not saying that coming and talking a lot is a bad thing. Sometimes that can be positive if it suits your personality. It seems his personality is pretty laid back with a tough edge when it comes to work. The second question is obviously, well, I think with Edu and Thiago, we always give as much information as we can, and there are two players, as I sort of touched on Edu there, that are thirsty for information. You know, particularly with Thiago, I was speaking a lot in the week about the style of game that Burnley would be. He was very interested to hear it. Which shows me a top professional who want to prepare to the smallest detail, and he did. And I just thought they dealt with the game very well, both in their individual ways, and it was a good game from both of them and the team. In terms of the result, yeah, I mean it's always a difficult place to get a result, particularly a convincing result, because normally the direct nature of the game at times can mean that there will be threats around your box, and we negated those in a big way. But as I said after the game, it's very important to have perspective. I had perspective when we have maybe had lesser performances and dropped some points this year, and I'll keep perspective when we have a very good performances and win comfortably. There's a lot of work to be done. It was a nice side of our game that we showed, actually, both with the ball and without it. But we are still trying to improve. So it's the bigger thing for me is the confidence for the team to feel the way they play, to feel the security of not being too much under pressure in our own box, and to feel the comfort and passing options we had throughout the game. That was a big thing for me. We need to carry that forward.
Last question, Matt Law.